What's good, fam? Drake is standing out here trying to convince the world that he is a block of ice. Meanwhile, his whole career is actually resting in a microwave on the highest setting. Global audiences are watching the most frantic rebrand in the history of hip-hop because the Toronto artist simply cannot handle the truth. Kendrick turned him into a permanent meme. On March 3rd of 2026, Drake hopped on Instagram to drop a carousel that felt more like a cry for help than a flex. His carousel even featured a caption about what he was supposedly performing while the world thought he was shedding tears. Seeing a man with 3 billion Spotify streams in the first 2 months of the year behaving with this level of insecurity about his public image is truly jarring. Those numbers are starting to look like zombie stats since the cultural energy is just not there for him anymore. The cultural energy has shifted completely. Kendrick Lamar haunts him like a ghost that he simply cannot outrun, which makes this new Iceman persona look like a frantic attempt to play defense. While he posts pictures of himself looking expressionless, his legal team is behind the scenes, losing their minds and fighting a battle against Universal Music Group that they already lost once. This entire rollout is rumored for a March 6th release. That feels like a high-stakes gamble to reclaim a throne that Kendrick already burned down. Record labels observe the change as Drake plays this new character while they prepare to delete his status as the golden boy of the label. Our team is going to break down why this whole chilly aesthetic is actually a massive cope for a man who is still reeling from the not like us era. It is one thing to call yourself the Iceman, but being frozen out of the very culture you used to run is another thing entirely. March 3rd was dedicated to rewriting history with a series of images that were supposed to make him look unbothered, but the results just feel forced and awkward. Drake is clearly entering a state of panic. Those slides included graphics that said, "Warning Iceman," and sported shirts with the phrase, "They doubted me," written across the front. The situation is comical because nobody ever doubted his ability to generate massive numbers or commercial hits. People just stop believing in the character he portrays, and that is a much harder problem to fix with a simple merch drop. This cold aesthetic is a direct response to the absolute demolition he faced during the Super Bowl 59 performance by Kendrick Lamar. That triumphant moment Kendrick took left Drake looking like a victim of a cultural heist, so now he is trying to pivot back to solo dominance. His caption specifically targets the millions of memes that show him looking devastated after the beef, but saying you remain stone-faced does not make people forget how his voice sounded on The Heart Part 6. Suspicions surround the timing of these drops. He tries to act like he was in the lab plotting a comeback while the world mocked him, but the timing of these singles suggests otherwise. Fans saw him drop "What Did I Miss?" and the track "Which One?" featuring Central C as a clear attempt to find a new pocket. The boy grasps for that UK drill energy because he knows the West Coast remained a no-fly zone for him. These songs are frantic attempts to move past the serious claims Kendrick put on his name, but a catchy beat with Central C is not going to erase the cultural record. Looking at the paperwork his legal team is filing makes the whole Iceman title feel like a massive joke. Drake submitted a 117-page legal appeal on January 23, 2026, and that document was anything but cold. The pages were packed with heated and emotional language that made him look like he was still losing sleep over every single line Kendrick ever rapped. A man who is truly ice cold would never need 100 pages of legal jargon to explain why his feelings are hurt or why his label should have protected him better. Drake is out here wearing shirts about people doubting his greatness, while his lawyers are basically begging the court to reconsider a defamation case that already got tossed in the trash. It shows a massive disconnect between the brand he wants to sell and the reality he is actually living in right now. Kendrick Lamar managed to dominate the entire conversation without even mentioning Drake for months. Yet here's Drake still trying to respond to the Not Like Us fallout in March of 2026. This whole rollout feels like a desperate race against the clock because he knows the industry is shifting under his feet. The Iceman persona is supposed to represent a version of him that is untouchable and detached, but every move he makes screams that he is checking his mentions every 5 minutes. He is trying to reclaim the solo throne, but the shadow of that beef is so long that it covers every studio session and every Instagram caption he posts. We are watching a legend try to rebrand his way out of a loss that has already been etched into the history books for good. Kendrick won the war of perception, and no amount of icy graphics or shirts about doubters can change the fact that the culture has moved on to a new era. Drake is out here fighting for his life while trying to look like he is just chilling, and the cracks in that facade are starting to show more every single day. The boy is not just losing the beef anymore, he is losing his grip on the narrative that kept him at the top for a whole decade. This Iceman persona is melting before it even has a chance to freeze over. The legal disaster is where the mask really starts to fall off because Drake is actually suing his own business partners through his company, Frozen Moments LLC. This whole situation is a messy standoff with Universal Music Group because Drake is heated that they helped promote Kendrick and those allegedly false narratives during the battle. Lucian Grange, the CEO of UMG, did not hold back at all when he responded to these claims in the court filings back in August of 2025. Grange literally called the defamation suit from Drake farcical and ridiculous, which is basically industry speak for telling him to stop wasting everyone's time with his hurt feelings. Having the most powerful man in the music business talk about you like a delusional child in a public document is a legendary level of embarrassment. The real knockout blow came on October 9th, 2025, when Judge Jeanette A. Vargas officially dismissed the entire case with a very clear message for the Sixth God. She ruled that the lyrics Kendrick Lamar used in the beef were non-actionable opinion, which means you cannot sue someone just because they called you a name you did not like in a rap song. This was a massive L for Drake that proved his legal shield is not as strong as he thought it was when he was at the very top of the food chain. The industry is effectively deleting his status as the untouchable golden boy, while UMG prepares its final response to his appeal by the March 27th deadline. It feels like the protection he once had from the biggest label in the world is vanishing because he decided to bite the hand that feeds him just for the sake of his ego. Before we get into how Kendrick is winning without even trying, tell me what you think about this legal team and if suing UMG was his biggest mistake. Drop a comment and let me know. No cap. While you are at it, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep it moving. Before we move on and see how Kendrick is out here stacking trophies while Drake is just playing dress up, do y'all think suing UMG was the biggest mistake of his career? Tell me in the comments. No cap. While you at it, like and subscribe, and let's continue. Drake is out here posing for the gram in his new outfits and plotting that Iceman rollout, but Kendrick is busy stacking trophies like they are infinity stones. During the 2026 Grammys, Doc completely took over the night by grabbing 5 massive wins for his album GNX and that hit track Luther. This dominance proved that the Academy and the fans finally agree on who really runs the genre right now. Kendrick owns the entire culture and the respect of his peers. A massive gap exists between having a loyal fan base and actually staying culturally relevant, and Kendrick holds both while the boy just clings to his playlist spots. The most hilarious part of this mess involves the legal battle keeping this beef in the headlines against the wishes of the Sixth God. Since the discovery process is expected to drag on until the summer of 2026, Kendrick keeps his victory fresh in everyone's mind for an entire year. Every single time Drake tries to start a new era or drop a project, people will just bring up the court receipts and those nasty allegations. Michael J. Gottlieb might claim that UMG cannot run from the truth forever, but the reality remains that the culture moved on to a new era long ago. None of that legal talk matters because the streets already made their final decision. We look at those 3 billion streams he keeps yapping about and recognize them as nothing but zombie numbers that do not reflect real excitement. Most fans play the old hits out of pure habit or leave them on in the background, but nobody talks about his new music with any real passion or excitement. Kendrick earns legendary status and critical acclaim while Drake remains stuck in a loop trying to prove he is still a threat. Watching one man grow while the other shrinks in real time is honestly painful for anyone who loves hip-hop as an art form. This decline feels honestly hard for any real fan to witness. Universal Music Group is staring down a court-mandated deadline on March 27, 2026, and that date represents the real moment of truth for Drake's career. This Iceman moment will reveal if the label decides to freeze him out of the massive protection he has enjoyed for over a decade. If if the Second Circuit Court of Appeals decides to uphold the dismissal from Judge Vargas. His entire plan to punish the industry will be dead. He is attempting to sue his way back into power because he knows he can no longer rap his way to the top. His rapping skills no longer move the needle for the general public. That rumored March 6th release date for the Iceman project represents a frantic race against the legal clock rather than just some random day on the calendar. Drake is trying to secure his bag and drop the album before the label exposes even more embarrassing details during the discovery phase. When those lawyers start digging into internal memos and corporate emails, they might find things that make the diss tracks look like light work. Executives are reportedly looking to distance themselves from his promotion if this legal harassment continues to annoy the higher-ups. The label clearly grows tired of his constant legal games. No major label wants to keep dumping millions into an artist who is actively dragging them into a courtroom over a rap battle they never joined. We are watching a massive bridge burn in real time while Drake tries to tell us he is just chilling in a cold climate of his own making. This desperate situation usually ends with a legacy getting tossed off the priority list at the office because the industry energy has shifted. Suing the very people who distribute your music reeks of panic and shows a total lack of a backup plan. He possesses no real plan for his future in this game. When you look at this whole situation from the outside, this Iceman persona is clearly just a fragile facade for a man still reeling from the events of 2024. Drake wants the world to believe he is some cold-hearted mastermind plotting a legendary revenge, but the reality is that he is just a guy who got outclassed on the world stage. A massive contrast exists between his constant plotting in the dark and the actual cultural impact Kendrick Lamar is making at this point in his career. Kendrick is standing on stages accepting trophies that represent the soul of the culture, while Drake is stuck in a room trying to find a UK drill artist to save his reputation. But here's the thing about that "They Doubted Me" shirt, because it is definitely one of the most confusing moves he has ever made. Nobody ever doubted that Drake could sell millions of records or dominate the radio play, so wearing that shirt is just a weird lie he is telling himself to feel like an underdog again. The people never actually doubted the numbers he was putting up. They just stopped believing in the character he was playing because the mask slipped and we all saw the panic underneath. This March 27th deadline is the final countdown to the end of his attempt to control the narrative through a legal team. If that appeal fails, the Iceman is going to start melting faster than anything we have ever seen, and no amount of cryptic posts can stop the heat. By staying dedicated to the craft, Kendrick Lamar won the long game while Drake got himself lost in the legal filings and the emotional damage. Greatness does not require suing people, which is why the throne is currently occupied by someone who does not need to prove their status in court. Drake is finally seeing that you can buy the playlisting and the corporate backing, but you can never buy back the respect of a culture that has already seen the truth. The result is that the Iceman is starting to thaw, and the world is watching the legend of the sixth god turn into a cautionary tale about letting your ego run your legal department. While Kendrick moved on to bigger things, Drake is still trying to find a way to make that 2024 loss look like a win. It is a bad look for a veteran, and the culture is not going to let him forget it anytime soon. The boy needs to realize that you cannot freeze a fire that has already burned down your entire house. This era of desperate legal plays is over, and the March 27th deadline is the final nail in the coffin for the boy. Kendrick is the king, and Drake is just a man with a lot of lawyers and a shirt that nobody actually believes in. Losing his grip is only the beginning because the industry is ready to hit the delete button on his untouchable status and end the Golden Boy narrative for good.